Okay.
And it's 3 p.m. for me, Austin, and I'm in New York.
Nice. New
Yeah.
Yorker.
Same.
She's
We're
got the
actually-
bridge behind her. Look at that.
I know. Okay, we're
Definitely not New York.
There you go.
Okay, we're gonna get started. Hi everyone. I'm Austin Ashburn. I guess I'm like your moderator today for Arizona State University. I'm basically a fun entertainment journalist. I intern for Pop Crave as well as like a really weird celebrity wedding company at the same time. So I just wanted to give more opportunity to students to highlight the entertainment industry because I feel like that's not something that the Cronkite School touches on very often. So I thought this would be a really cool opportunity for everyone who does want to enter that field to finally have a chance to hear from that side of the spectrum. So we're just gonna, thank you, Kenzel. So we're just gonna start on introductions. And we're gonna start with Liam. So if all of you could answer where you're located, what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and any fun facts you'd like to share about yourself.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Liam McEwan. Thanks, Austin, for putting this together. Nice to be chatting with you if you're in here live or if you're watching this later. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, I'm Liam. I'm an entertainment journalist. I got my start in radio in New Zealand, which is where I'm from originally. I started in radio when I was 13, so I was a small little kid. But I was one of those kids who had starry eyes when I was, young. I'd present in front of a camera. I'd make home movies, pretending like I was hosting a TV show and whatnot. So I always knew that I was going to be some sort of entertainment reporter. I didn't know just what channel or what lane I was going to find myself in, and started working in iHeartRadio in New Zealand when that launched, and that kind of cemented my love for it. I was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And then in 2017, ended up in Los Angeles, where I've been ever since. And yeah, my main gig is, for the past few years, I've been doing a lot of freelance work. So outlets or publicists will reach out and be like, hey, we want you to do this interview. And then I will go out and source an outlet for that to be on. But most recently, a lot of my stuff has been with the Associated Press, with AP. And I've just been having a lot of fun. It's cool to be able to talk to these people that, you can only ever dream of talking to. You guys can, my fellow journalists can relate to that, and people that you look up to, people that you grew up listening to. And I'll never forget, I was that kid who, would watch interviews with my favorite stars to get to know about them a little bit more. And I just remember thinking, why can't I be the one to get to ask the questions? And made sure that I eventually was the person that would get to do that. So that's kind of been, in short, my journey. And yeah, that's me. Did I answer all of your little points there?
Killed it.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna move on to Alena.
Hi, it's Alena, by the way. No problem. No worries.
Go, Alena.
No worries. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you, Austin, for inviting me. I'm based in New York, and I've been a publicist for a really long time, ever since I was interning. I got my start my junior year of college, and like my first week as an intern, I had to help work Future's New York Fashion Week after party. And I was like, wow, this is so chaotic and stressful. I love it. And I want to keep going. And so I've just like kind of worked my way. Now I'm currently an account executive at Shorefire Media, and my clients include people like Trixie Mattel, Alena Joyiens, Odessa, Balming Tiger, Kesha, and a few others. But yeah, and then what was it, like a fun fact about myself?
Yeah,
or
fun.
Okay, a fun fact about me. So in first grade, we had like World Heroes Day, where we had to dress up as figures in history that impacted life and stuff. And so my fellow students, they chose people like Albert Einstein and like Gandhi. And I chose Paula Abdul. And I really feel like that foreshadowed how I ended up in entertainment now.
You manifested that.
Yeah,
That's so
to
fun.
be fair, I think at that time
Amazing.
American Idol was like 10 times, I don't know, it was so impactful, more than Albert Einstein in that time, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I still listen to Straight Up to this day, so I feel Cold Hearted is her best song though, actually. Um, Mariana, we'll go to you next.
Okay, hi, nice to meet you. Thank you so much, Austin, for hosting this room. My name is Marianna. I'm Italian. I'm a journalist since like 2010-ish, let's say like that. I started in politics, so it's a totally different field. I was doing Italian politics, international politics, so but I was always interested in entertainment. So one day I pitched my boss the possibility to interview Matt Smith from Doctor Who for a newspaper, an Italian newspaper. And he was like, okay, I don't know who he is, but go for it. I totally trust you. And since then, I started working a little bit more into the entertainment journalism, but for a long time, I was a politics reporter, and it was my main field until the COVID strike. So I was like, I can't do it anymore. Politics is not for me. I can do it. Really, I can. So I asked him to just fire me and get me some free time to fly to South Korea because I wanted to explore South Korean entertainment industry. And he was like, no, I won't fire you, but start writing about Korea for us. Nobody's doing it in Italy, so I trust you. If you say that there is something that it's gonna be big here as well, I totally trust you. So do it. And so I started pinging each publisher and publicist I know because I was like, okay, I need to get context. And the first gig I got was like getting invited to the BTS conference. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm on the right path. And since then, I never stopped. Fun thing about me, I don't think there is any fun about me actually. I fall a lot. I fall a lot, so maybe that's fun.
It can be fun sometimes. And we'll go to Avery.
Hi guys, my name is Avery Watson, and I am a publicist and business strategist, public speaker, and as well as an educator. I'm also a teacher with the Department of Education in New York City as well. Publicity and media entertainment kind of fell on my lap. Although I worked very hard for it, I interned everywhere you could think of, in Viacom, BT, all the great places, record labels, RCA Records, just to name a few, so many different agencies, MBK Entertainment, which is an agency that, entertainment company that founded Alicia Keys. That was my first internship. I worked all over and kind of built my brand up from the ground up. And from that grassroots, it led me to Bad Boy as an executive in operations, in which I was able to help run Diddy's company and launch Revolt TV in 2013, and then continue to work in production. After production, I just kind of fell in love with the whole entertainment field. With me being around so many great individuals and being on these amazing red carpets, I was able to build my resources and connect with so many great people, journalists, media professionals, everyone, to where I had the opportunity to build my business. So I started my own PR agency, and that's when I landed so many great opportunities just by, showing proof of my work. And I absolutely love being an entrepreneur, but at the same exact time, there is some woes there. However, entertainment, again, is a real fickle industry, but I was able to kind of rise above and come on top. I am a TEDx speaker, the first ever TEDx speaker here in New York, and for the Bronx, New York, where I'm from originally. So I'm so thankful for the milestones. The music industry is definitely tough, but we were all able to make it out. I made it, and I'm just so thankful for this opportunity. And thank you, Austin. And hopefully I answered the questions. If you need something else, let me know.
You guys all killed it. Claps all around.
Yeah, well done. Such a great range of different people, and the backgrounds are so fascinating to hear. It just shows that there's
Yeah,
not
it's
one way
amazing.
to make it happen. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I try to touch on every corner. So we're gonna get to the curated questions I have, but just so the listeners know who are here live, we're gonna have an open Q&A session at the end. If you ask a question, you'll be entered to win a free Starbucks. So you should ask a question at the end.
Nice.
I'll spin a little wheel, and if it lands on your name, you'll get something for free. So that's always fun. Um, but we'll start getting into the questions, and then we'll transition to that. So the first question I want to ask all of you, some of you guys have already touched on this already, but when did you realize that you wanted to go into this field? Like, when was that initial moment? And whoever can start.
I'll start.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say so. When I was younger, I was like obsessed with Samantha Jones and Sex and the City, and I thought she lived like this incredible life. And that's how I was introduced to publicity. I'm like, oh, it's just this, I don't know. I just based it off her. And then when I had my first ever internship, I was like, okay, this is so glamorized. This is fiction, but it's so fun. And I never realized that that was actually like a way you could work and make money. You know, my mom was a banker, and same with my dad. Everyone had such, I guess, normal jobs that it just entertainment was never something I thought of until I saw Sex and the City and, you know, had my chance with the internships. And I think also with the internships though, I wasn't just like in entertainment. I also tried finance, like publicity for finance. That was horrible. And healthcare. I was like, oh my God, I hate this. And then I just kind of stuck with music, and I thought music was the right way to go.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I will say this. I grew up, in New York and Harlem, and I always kind of looked up to Sean Diddy Combs at a point where I just really enjoyed this grind. I'm also a dancer as well. I used to dance professionally, and for me, it was great to see someone actually combining all parts of art together with dance, hip hop, R&B, connecting with the talent enough to bring out that out of an artist. I love that. And for me, I had an opportunity to join his program, a charity program at 11 years old, 11, 12 years old. It was called Daddy's House Charities, in which we had different mentorship classes, writing classes, poetry classes, things like that. And we went out and traveled together. A great program he started. So then that was in 2003. And then 10 years later, I ended up working as an executive operations for his company. So that was like a 10-year aha moment for me. And that's when I knew from back then, like, it was I can do anything that I put my mind to, So that's my answer to that.
You absolutely can do anything you put your mind to. And like, I kind of touched on this story earlier, but I grew up a fan of people, all my favorite artists, and I would go on YouTube and try to find anything that I possibly can just to get to know them, just that little bit better. And I'd be at school and I'd be wearing shirts that were like Los Angeles, Hollywood, California. Like, I don't know, there was just never a second thought in my head that that's where I was going to end up, and that's what I was going to end up doing. I also had a dance background as well. One of my first jobs was like being a dance teacher. I was like a 14-year-old kid teaching Michael Jackson dance moves to like adults. So
amazing.
Yeah. It was so much fun. But just a general love for entertainment in general, and I would be terrible at any other job. I cannot imagine myself doing anything other than what I do now. But yeah, no, I always knew that this is what I was going to end up doing.
I think it was the same for me. The first time I thought I was going to be a journalist, it was like when I was 6 years old. My parents keep telling me that they have like a paper where I wrote down what do you want to do when you grow up, and I wrote like I want to be a journalist. I want to be on TV and do interviews. And so they were like, okay, so you always have the straight mind. But I never thought of entertainment, actually. I always thought about going to work on television, like on the news, but entertainment hit me when I was doing politics for like the second year in a row, full time. And I was like, no, that's not for me. I need to switch to what I like. And so I was a fan, as Liam said, and I think that started everything for me as well.
I love it.
You made such a good decision coming out of politics and going into entertainment news.
Yeah, right.
That's one of the things I love about entertainment news is like, you know, I've had scoffs before from some, you know, hard news journalists being like, oh, you do entertainment. But it's just like, look, if entertainment is made to put smile on people's faces and for people to literally be entertained. So it's like, if we can be in amongst the crazy news cycle that's going on right now, just that little bit of optimism, just that little bit of joy, joyous news, entertaining news, like then we've done our job. Do you know what I mean? And I think
exactly.
Yeah.
And they think it's easy because it's entertainment, but it's not, because you have to face a lot of issues, a lot of people that are trying to drag you down, or but it's not easy, but it's funny. So I totally agree with you. Yeah.
And you know what? I feel like pop culture can affect society and politics in so many ways too. Like they kind of coincide. So just want to throw that out there.
No, I agree. Pop culture literally shifts the world. Like as much as people like to deny it, like we wouldn't be the same if pop culture hadn't evolved in the way that it has over the last 50 or so years, you know? It's made a huge mark on, especially these big names, these big entertainers. Like the world would be a very different place without them in it, you know?
Speaking of pop culture moments, I want to ask all of you guys, what is like your favorite moment from your career so far that you'll never forget? Like what's top of the tier?
Mine would be the Tyler Perry grand opening in Atlanta, Georgia, working with Sunshine and Sacks, working with them. That PR agency is amazing. And working with them on the project to open up Tyler Perry's grand opening in Atlanta was probably one of the most amazing, iconic moments in Black and pop culture at the time. I had the opportunity to, you know, walk Oprah, you know what I mean, down the carpet. And that moment for me in my career was just like, everyone was just like, why? And our pictures were side to side, and family and friends was cropping photos out of me. And that moment right there, like, that's the OG of journalism, media, everything. So to be right there and be that person that they're like, hey, who are you? I like your work. I like how you're dealing with us. I love how you're, running the carpet right now. Great work. So that to me was so iconic, because outside of Oprah, there was many other people that I was able to walk on that red carpet. But that moment for me, I would say, like, I had so many moments, but that was that one.
Well, that's a killer. That's a great one. I mean, Oprah's the queen of media. So for me, I'm big on manifestation and believing that you can do what it is that you set your mind to, as crazy as that may sound. But one for me was I'd always had a dream of interviewing a Beatle. And I was like, I just want to interview a Beatle. Like we were talking about people who shift pop culture and shift the world. I mean, it's them. And I wrote a note on my bathroom mirror. Like I had like a sticky note, and it said Ringo Starr interview. Ringo Starr's the drummer in the Beatles. And I put that on my bathroom mirror so that every single day when I went and looked in the mirror, I would see that goal and see it right in front of me. And then last year made it happen. And that was just surreal. That's one of those moments where it's like, you have to pat yourself on the back of it, because it's like I grew up in New Zealand, which is so far from the entertainment space. We were talking earlier about, some people just don't understand that this can actually be a job. I was lucky with my parents that they knew and understand what I do. But, I speak to some of my friends' parents that are like, how do you even make money like that? And how is that even a plausible job, But it's at moments like that, interviewing a Beatle. Or last year I did this piece where Prince Jackson, Michael Jackson's son, walked me around Michael's house and showed me his like recording studio and where Thriller was recorded and things like that. Like moments where it's like, wow, like I ended up here and I'm the one that gets to do this. Like, those are the awesome moments. That's mine.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I guess I'll
honestly,
follow up
that
with-
was awesome.
I know. I'm like, did you take pictures of the tour by chance?
Yes, I took pictures of everything. We did a whole video where he like walks me around the house and he's showing me. He's like, we were talking about. He was just so casually talking about his father's hat just sitting there, and I was like, that's like a crazy piece of memorabilia, and you're just referring to it as like your dad's hat. Like, it's just insane, and I'm a naturally interested person, and I think that's, to do this job you have to be naturally interested in things. So to be in a situation like that and to be able to, as I say, ask these people questions that, burning questions, it's like it's just so cool, and it makes it so fulfilling to be able to do. But yeah, and also another thing that I like doing as well, sorry to keep going, but is to meet new acts and to be introduced to new worlds that if I hadn't been doing this job, I wouldn't have a clue about. The last few years I've gotten into K-pop, the K-pop space. I was one of the first journalists to interview BTS when they came to the States. And before that, I had no idea about K-pop, but that kind of took me on this whole other journey. So it's like, you just never know one day who you're going to meet, how something's going to happen, and how it's going to completely transform the next few years of your life. But that's the excitement of this business, of this world.
A moment for me. So I used to represent the band 311, and every year they would have like a anniversary concert in Vegas on 311. So on the 30th anniversary, it was like this 3-day event, and they flew me out for it. And it was the first time I ever got flown out anywhere, and it was just being part of the energy and seeing the fans and everything and being with the band. It was just such a nice moment because I feel like, and I'm sure Avery knows this as well, like as a publicist, sometimes your work can go,
I noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Or unappreciated, like yeah, basically. And so I just, it was nice to feel appreciated in that moment. Like, oh, wow, all my work has paid off and they appreciate me, and I just, yeah, I'll never forget that moment. It was really nice.
We love a free flight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A moment for me, it's a funny one actually, because I was working for just a few months into K-pop. I was trying to build a few connection, and one night I remember it like it was yesterday. It was for 15, and my phone started ringing because I forgot to turn it off. And it was Hive, and I just picked up like, yeah, see, yeah, in Italian, and I was like, I'm dreaming to speaking with Hive, but it's such an insane thing. And then I hang up on them, and they called me back because they thought the phone got disconnected, and I just realized that I was really speaking with them. So I jumped out of the bed and I was like, sorry, it's 4 a.m. in here. So I was totally sleeping. And they were like, oh, we just wanted to check if the emails were right, if you're into K-pop, if you want to have a connection with us. And I was like, yeah, definitely, I want that. And then they sent me the email list for the BTS conference. That was one of the best moments. And another one was my first time in Seoul. The first day there, I went drinking with J Park, which was a true experience.
Oh my gosh. J Park, he has a really good feature on one of my favorite songs, but we'll move on from that. I love Ive too. Anyways, I'm a K-pop girly also, but
we're all K-pop girlies at heart.
Exactly.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move into some individual questions that I have like laid out. So we're gonna start with Liam. over the past decade, you've developed a lengthy resume of hosting and interviewing experiences, and you've solidified yourself as a well-known journalist in the world of the entertainment industry. Has shaking off nerves before a big interview always come easy for you, or was it something you had to work on over time? And along with that, what's some advice you would give on how to be well prepared and ready to go for a big interview?
Wow. Okay, I definitely have an answer for the well prepared. Thank you. That's very kind. I, in terms of being well prepared, you know, it's one of those things where it depends on the situation. You know, if you are on a red carpet, like I recently did the Grammys, and we were doing a live stream, and you know, you're doing these interviews and you're having a great chat, and then that person heads off, and then a second later you have a new person in front of you, and you don't know who you're going to be speaking to, and sometimes you may or may not know who's in front of you. So sometimes, unfortunately, you can't do that, but that's one of the skills that I guess you kind of have to have in this job, is just to be able to find a conversation, even if you don't know who is in front of you, in a situation like that, because people are always trying to, you know, throw artists in front of you. But then if I know I'm about to go into an interview and, you know, I have a bit of time to plan, my main source of research is actually going back and watching other interviews that person has done, for a few reasons, just to get to know them a little bit better, but also just to kind of catch their vibe. How do they react to interviewers? What is it in an interview that they react positively to? What is it maybe that gets them talking? What opens them up? And just by watching previous interviews, you just kind of get to pick up on those things, just to kind of catch their vibe, you know, beforehand. So it is always a good to go unprepared like that. And I think it's, you know, it's just a respect thing, you know, if and I always say this, and the publicists will agree with me, it's like, interviews in PR like this is a two-way street, right? It's like we've all got to scratch each other's backs. The publicists need the media need the interviews. So there's got to be that synergy. So it is a mutual respect thing. And you do, I think, have to be prepared. But as I say, sometimes it's not as easy as that when it's a live situation. What was the first part of your question?
Has like shaking off nerves always come
Oh,
easy?
yes. People love to ask me if I get nervous, and it's like, fair enough. Yeah, I think that's something that, you know, over time kind of leaves your body. But, you know, for me, I put pressure on myself. It's not nerves. It's more like, especially if it's a big interview, it's like before the interview starts, it's like, you better smash this. You know, you have one opportunity sometimes with some people to get a great interview. And that's mainly the nerves. It's the nerves of like getting it right, hoping the vibe's right, and getting a good interview out of it. But then when you're actually in the moment and you have this person in front of you, you know, it could be one of the most famous people in the world, but for some reason, when I'm in that one-on-one situation, it's just me and them chatting, which I think is a good thing. I think if I was nervous, that might show. I don't know. It's just, I get into work mode whenever I'm in front of a star. But then, you know, maybe when they walk off, I'll be like, oh, did that just happen? Like, have one of those moments. But when I'm actually in the situation, there's never any like starstruck moments in a way, if that makes sense. But it definitely is something that, you know, initially when you get started, you have to kind of shake off. But, you know, I'm there to do a job, and I'm there to do the best. You know, I moved halfway around the world for this. I want to give a good interview. So yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I also just want to say about the red carpet thing. I just did my first one like 2 months ago, and thank you. But I'll never forget. It was like the Spotify one before the Grammys. But
The Disney Artist Party?
yes, it was so fun.
Nice.
But the Jonas Brothers' brother, like their little brother, Frankie, their publicist was like pushing him on me, and I honestly had no idea who he was because he was wearing sunglasses, and like the whiteboard was all the way on the other end, so I could not read the name. I was just like, I don't know who you are. I'm so sorry. But then I found out who he was like 5 minutes later, and I was like, oh, I feel so bad.
No, that's how it goes sometimes. Like, you have to, like, as I was saying, if you're in a situation and you don't know the person, it's just like having a conversation to try to get something out of them that you can go down, especially on a carpet like that. And it also, you know, depends on the outlet. With someone like Pop Crave, or, you know, as I say, recently I've been doing a lot of stuff with the Associated Press, like at the Grammys or at the Vanity Fair party or at things like that, it gets to a point where there's like a line of publicists and stars waiting to put their talent in front of us. And you have to learn how to say no to these things. You know, sometimes it's just you and a camera guy on the carpet, and sometimes it's even just you. It just all depends on the event. But it's fascinating, and it's a skill that, you know, is so helpful, especially in this, is just thinking quickly, being on your feet at all times. And, you know, a lot of publicists as well, and I love when they do this, so thank you, pubs, is when they come down and you have like a little card that's like, here's the artist, couple of quick facts. Like, it just helps so much. Because, you know, a lot of these times at these events, you know, you do have to say no to a lot of people. And sometimes the publicists don't like that. Like, sometimes you'll get people snapping back and being like, oh, well, they're going to be the next big thing. And it's like, sorry, I can't do everybody that, you know. In another situation on carpets, it's like, you might be doing an interview with a B-list star in a movie, but then the star of the movie is coming down the carpet, and you have to finish up this interview right now, because if you don't, you're going to miss the main star. So it's a whole quick thinking thing, and people don't realize how hectic, you guys do, but people don't realize how hectic those carpets actually can be.
Yeah, I love those publicist cards. I still have some like on my wall just from my first one, because it's so cute.
I like collecting the face sheets that red carpets have. Like, they'll have like a sheet that has all the people's faces on it. Like, I got to a point now where I've done too many and I can't keep them all because it was just like stacking up. But
You're so
when I got
fun.
started, I was like, it's nice to have all these face sheets to remember like who I've done and who I've spoken to.
Yeah.
I say all my media passes, all my media credential passes. There's like, I have a full stack of all of them from all the award shows. It's just amazing to look back on. And I just wanted to add, in terms of the red carpet, because I also do publicity, but I'm also a journalist, media, you know, communication specialist too. I suggest asking questions. That's very much, it makes the person kind of introduce themselves, or it's also an opportunity to kind of just play a game or something, because then it makes you stand out on the carpet, but it also makes you a lot like more fun. And guess what? That helps you social media wise. You have great sound bites and better promotion for your content. So if it's fun and it's engaging, it allows the person to talk about themselves. You still won. So. You
won. And they like that. Yeah, exactly. And they go down this line and they're just getting asked the same questions. And to your point, it is so important to ask something a little bit more interesting, or something that gets them going, because otherwise you're just going to get the same bite that every single other outlet got. And then it's not a valuable bite. So you're so right there.
I love it. Love this. We're gonna move to Alena. You're on the other side of the coin compared to Liam, as we've been discussing. As a talent publicist, you're working with journalists on a regular basis to get your clients coverage. I wanted to ask, what advice would you give as a PR person on managing your relationships with journalists, and how do you know when an outlet or publication is a good fit for a client?
Okay, so a lot of communication is instinctual, right? And it's funny that you asked me this, because I literally led a meeting at my company about journalist etiquette like a few weeks ago. So I'll just pick from what I presented. But I think the most important thing is like recognizing that, you know, everyone's a human being. Like, we're not robots here, and we have to treat people as such. Like, you guys are humans, you have a life. You know, I can't, even though as a publicist, I'm getting all this pressure from a manager. Hey, why isn't Rolling Stone covering the single? Why isn't so-and-so getting back, you know, and you may feel like a lot of pressure, and you kind of project it onto these writers and stuff. And you have to just kind of take a deep breath and remember, hey, they have a life too. Don't call them up at 7 p.m. Don't, you know, send them 3 emails a day being like, hey, can I, you know what I mean? You just have to, again, it's instinctual, you know what I mean? And I think it's really important to note too that like a lot of communication has changed since COVID, you know, like before COVID at my job, we were encouraged to call people a lot, like call writers. If we weren't hearing back from them via email, call them and just, you know, ask. But nowadays, because of COVID and everyone's working from home, now everyone's using their cell phones. Like, I doubt Austin, I doubt you'd want to call from me like a cold call, you know what I mean? On your personal cell phone, on, you know, if you're in the middle of something. So it's just like everything has shifted a lot. And it's just really, really important to not only just like, obviously, you know, with writers and such, like we do want them to do something for us, right? But it's really important to build a bond and build a relationship. Some of my best friends are writers and producers and stuff, like who I pitched in the past, and we just bonded because I asked to go to lunch, or I asked to, you know, like, let's hang out and not talk about work. Let's just hang out as human beings together, you know? And I find that it's just really important to nourish those bonds for the future as well. What was the last question? Sorry.
How do you know when an outlet or publication is a good fit for your client?
Oh, so that honestly, it for me, with my roster, it depends on who the client is. So I'll use Trixie Mattel as an example, right? Trixie, obviously, she's, you know, she's everywhere. She has her own show. She has, you know, music, everything, makeup line. She's doing it all. And with her, she's told me, you know, she's like, I'm busy and I don't want to do much, right? And so I'm like, fair enough. I won't pitch you a lot, but hey, but if it's like something like really, really important, like we got her a Jimmy Kimmel performance, I was like, hey, you should do this. She was like, okay, work, I'm doing it. You know, it just depends on who you're working with. There's some clients that I have that are more rising acts, you know, who haven't really done a lot of interviews. And I think it's important for them to get their names out there. So of course, yeah, hey, do these interviews so that when people Google search your name, they see these interviews pop up. They see, you know, your name out there. So it really just varies by client and what they have happening and such, but yeah.
No, I think you kill it. I think we worked together on like a Netta interview, the Eurovision.
Yes,
Girl, like
yes,
however
yes.
long ago, and you were such a great communicator. So I think you're
Thank
just
you.
great. Um, we're gonna move on to Marianna. You're one of the top K-pop reporters in all of Italy. What is it that you love most about K-pop and Korean culture? And have you felt a growth in the respect toward K-pop music since starting off your career in Italy?
Thank you so much, Austin. But so I first got attracted to the Korean culture because it's very similar to the Italian one. Actually, we're very close to our family. There is a strong bond between people. So the Korean culture is pretty similar with the Italian one, but the K-pop culture is completely different. The Korean entertainment is totally different from the Italian one. The Italian one is flashy. The more sex and the more flashy things you put on the screen, the more you became famous. And so I was like, okay, there is this side of things. So you can see the Italian soap opera, the Italian TV shows, the Italian reality shows, but there is something else that people is attracted to a lot in Italy. And so I started talking about that. I was the first one. People were calling me crazy for doing it. Like, nobody's interested in this. So why are you interviewing K-pop acts? Why are you talking about K-dramas? When I started talking about Single Inferno, it was huge worldwide, but not in Italy. And then in like 1 week, it exploded in Italy as well. And people are like, oh, you were right. This kind of products are nice. So maybe we need to start talking about them. So yeah, a lot changed in 2 years. A lot changed. It's still difficult for the Italian market because we're really small. So Panorama is projected to the European market because it's brand, it's an old brand. So I'm lucky for that, but in Italy, it's still pretty new. Everything is still pretty new. And most of the people talking about Korean entertainment doesn't know anything about that, not even BTS. So it's very strange because sometimes I'm like, it's so simple. Just get online and get informed. You have a lot of resources, but the Italian market is strange. It's changing very quickly. A lot people are getting very interested right now. Most of them are influencers, which is not that good, not bad either, but not that good because there is a lot of misinformation. But still, we're working on that. And I hope more and more journalists get interested into the field. We just came back from a press trip to Cannes for the Cannes Series Festival because Paramount Plus is bringing it to Italy a few K-dramas. So I was there interviewing the cast of Bargain, and people were like, why you have to go to Cannes to interview some Korean guys? And so I need to explain to them, yeah, because this is huge. This actor is great, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, oh, the girl is the one was Tokyo. And I went, yeah. So, we have still to work on that, but things are changing very quickly, very quickly. So it's challenging.
Look, you're being a trendsetter.
A little. I'm still the nerdy one.
I love it. Final individual question is for Avery. You're the legendary CEO of your very own agency, Multi Artistry Entertainment. What was that experience like of initially working for others and then transitioning into becoming your own boss? And along with that, how rewarding has it been to see up and coming artists that you support, like seeing them thrive? How rewarding is that?
So I guess to answer your first question, like overall being an entrepreneur in the PR industry is absolutely extremely competitive. You must have the ultimate competitive spirit with also having the tenacity to be as strong and mentally stable as you can be. I can say that for the most part, being a publicist for me is always a reward. I always figure out the prize anyway, even if I am appreciated or if I felt like a campaign didn't do well. And what was the second question?
Along with that, how rewarding is it to see your up and coming artist suddenly thriving because of the work that you're doing?
Well, yeah, so there's been many artists that kind of come and go throughout an agency sometimes. Some might continue hiring you, some may not have the full budget. That's the only thing when you're working on an independent scale. You may not have the full budget like a bigger agency. So sometimes you end up wishing you can do more for an artist and hoping to do more, that you want to do more, but you may not have the full budget to do exactly what you intend to do. So there are times where I felt like, oh my gosh, this campaign fell short because I needed, more budget. Or there's times where clients did extremely well because outside of my work, we all work together in a cohesive way to bring the narrative of the artist and the branding all together and bringing the story together so well that we landed big opportunities and big placements. So this is a great opportunity to grow with an artist as well, right? But outside of growing with them, you get to also say, hey, you're like my baby, now you can leave the nest. And that's also a great feeling too, because I'm not really attached to things. So I think with being a publicist, you have to really know how to handle attachment and detachment really well. You have to know when to let go of things. And that's something that I had to learn along the way. And also a great attribute to working with different artists and things of that nature, they can give you great referrals. They can refer you to other great people and say, hey, this person did a great work for me. I would love for you to continue working with Avery. She's this, she's that, all those great things. And outside of artists, when we have in my business, I was able to not only work with artists, but entrepreneurs, helping them with their SEO and building their brand awareness, social presence, with Wikipedia pages, creating those different things to help grow their brand. Outside of that, even Web3 and blockchain, being able to work in different areas of publicity because it is my own company versus having to stay in a certain niche market because that's all I had to do at that particular agency. I can't really step on anyone else's toes. So it did open me up to be able to have a really vast way of presenting myself and my skills. So I feel like, having an agency has its perks, but, eventually you do have to figure out and navigate what is best for you when you are an entrepreneur in the independent scale. As a publicist, it can get tough, but it is rewarding.
You're so talented. We had to stand. Slaying it. Okay, so
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
yes, we are moving into the Q&A session for the people that are here live. Just a reminder, you do get a free little Starbucks drink. If you do ask a question, I'll put you on a wheel and we'll spin a fun little wheel then. If anyone has a question, feel free to hop on the camera or just turn on your mic. Whoever wants to go first.
Hi, I have a question, actually, that's okay. I was just wondering how you guys recommend breaking into the PR and publicist world, and maybe how you guys got started, and some advice for any students who are interested in entering that industry.
My advice is is literally internships, intern, especially if you're a student, like get as much experience as possible to help you like when you graduate and then, you know, start applying for these jobs. Like getting that experience is so helpful.
Yeah, and to add in terms of publicity, I would suggest you can kind of jump in so many different angles because publicity is still kind of wide in terms of where you want to go, because you might want to do music publicity or you might want to do full-on entertainment, you might want to do fashion PR, you might want to do, it's so many different pockets. So kind of pick your pocket and then get into that internship, or vice versa, maybe working as an executive assistant to someone who owns a PR agency, because then now you kind of learn everything all in one as well. So I've always worked in executive assistant roles a lot. I've always was a assistant to somebody, and different production assistant, executive assistants. Those type of roles are great because the top people get to know you and know your work and know that you're efficient and that you are hungry. So, and the industry is so small that people will talk crap. So if the top bosses know who you are and know that you are serious, they will refer you for the rest of your life.
Thank you. That was Layla, right?
Yeah, thank you. Those answers are so helpful. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Layla.
Oh, Mona.
Okay, I have a question. So while working at like the industry, like the entertainment industry, the PR industry, like what have been like your biggest obstacles ever that you guys have like encountered like while working like in this type of industry? I'm just interested. I'm not a journalism major of any kind. I'm actually in nursing, but I do think like the entertainment industry is like very good. And honestly, if I could restart my entire college experience, I probably would have done it.
Good on you for doing nursing. We need more nurses.
I was going to add, a lot of my nurse friends, we're complaining about the same thing at work. I'm a publicist. My nurse friend is like, I work too many hours. I'm like, no, I work too many hours. It's like a point where we're like, wait, are we both like unappreciated here? So I just feel like it just depends on where your path is going and where it's leading you. I don't know if that answers anything, Mona Lisa, but for the most part, you got to stick to it, because whatever is meant for you is meant for you. And I think that like selfless work is like, we are the greatest people of all time. It's selfless work, nursing or publicity. Like, we're doing it for the people. So that's an amazing job in itself.
Thank you, Mona. Faye, do you have a question?
I do. So first of all, Stan Blackpink. Anyways, I have yep. So I have two questions. One's like a more general question, and then I have one specifically for Liam, because I did see your TikTok about like when Ringo Starr said he liked your necklace, and I kind of freaked out. So my first question is, so in her NYU doctorate acceptance speech, Taylor Swift once said that we are all literary chameleons. And, you know, I associate this quote with the writers that I look up to and the journalists that I look up to. And, you know, I see so many inspiring and aspiring authors out there and writers out there. And sometimes like when I see like amazing journalists like you, all I can think about is that, oh my God, like I want them to be like my ride or die. So then I made up this list in my head, like I started writing and I titled the series called Writer Dies, like a play on words or whatever. And so I wanted to ask you guys, who are your ride or dies as writers, if that makes any sense? Like who inspires you to write or to make up these interviews and want to get out there and just kind of like meet all these beautiful people and just, you know, get to know more about them and share them with the world?
Wow. I prioritize in terms of inspiration. See, it's tough because I'm inspired by everybody, like even people who aren't in our industry. Anybody who's good at what they do, I just find so much joy out of watching them do that or talk about that. It could be something that I don't give a flying F about, but like if they are speaking with some passion or they're just so knowledgeable about it, like I will just sit there and listen to them talk about it for hours. But in terms of like my space of work, like, you know, I like watching people like Howard Stern. I know he's a bit of a dodgy person, but like he's great at what he does and he's good at like getting people to open up. So I will like look at people like that and be like, how did he get them to open up about something that they've never spoken about before? Or like things like that, like finding watching different interviewers. There's a guy called Zane Lowe who's also from New Zealand, and he's good at getting people to open up as well. So I'll like watch that and be like, how did he word that to get them to like open up in such a natural way? And there's this quote that I like, you know, that's study the greats and become greater. So like look at these people who are great at their job and figure out how can you do that a little bit better than them. You know, things like that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. And it was actually like, it kind of also answered the question that I was going to ask you, because, you know, as you said that you did interview like Ringo Starr, which I'm a huge, like, you know, Beatles fan. And I wrote this whole like thesis thing about Beatlemania and how that affects like every aspect of pop culture. And I was going to ask you, like, you know, when I saw your interview with Ringo, I don't know why, but I just thought of Joan Didion and how like her whole like White Album era in the 60s. And I was going to ask you if, you know, like if you look at these different authors and do you have like a set of skills that help you stand out to be able to meet people like Ringo Starr?
Yeah, thank you for watching that. That was, yeah, as I say, such a dream come true. Like, and it was crazy. We were talking about Starstruck earlier. Like in that moment, I was fine with it. And like when he walked away, I was like, I cannot believe that like just happened. But it's interesting with people like that, you know, especially when it's a star like Ringo, who has done so many interviews, has been asked every question under the sun. And this can, you know, I did an interview with Elton John as well recently. And it's like, how do you speak to these people and ask them questions when they've been asked literally everything? And that can be tough sometimes. Like, how do you, you know, as much as I'd love to talk to Ringo about Abbey Road and the Beatles, like, he's been asked all of that. So my approach with that one was like, I need to go in there with something. And this goes back to what I was saying about watching previous interviews, like what makes them tick, what gets them excited. Ringo's all about peace and love. So I was like, if I go into this interview wearing a peace necklace, I had like this little peace sculpture that I was like holding up to catch his attention. And it did. Like he came up and automatically you could just see on his face that it was just like two friends chatting because we had something in common there. So I found that thing in common, got his attention, and then, you know, got probably the best bite from that day, from that press line that he was doing. So it's things like that, finding those things that make the stars, get them interested, you know, get them, you know, I think about, you know, some of the BTS interviews I've done. It's interesting, especially with an act like BTS or K-pop acts, it's like, there is obviously a language barrier there. So how do you ask a question that doesn't get lost in the translation when it gets translated to them, still has the heart of the question there and gets a solid response out of them? And a lot of the time, when it is K-pop, a lot of the members, maybe one member of a group will know what you're saying, but the rest will just be staring at you, right? So something I learned in that case is like, I will bring like a little prop, or in one of my BTS interviews, the notebook that I had had their faces on it, and like they got a kick out of it. So it's like being physical as well, and like finding little ways to kind of connect with people, even if there is a language barrier or a barrier of some sort. Find that connection, because once you can find that connection and find that mutual thing, it can be the smallest thing, but if you can find something to relate over, the interview, I promise you, is going to be good.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Faye. I appreciate the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faye. We're gonna try to squeeze in one or two more people. If whoever has another question.
Hi, I had a question. I had a question specifically for Marianna. So I currently do PR for like government affairs actually right now. But I think later down the line, it'd be really cool to like hop into like entertainment or like something like more creative. So I wanted to ask if your knowledge in politics, if that like ever helped you out with like your time in entertainment, or like how's that? Are there any like specific instances where like those two industries crossed paths and you're like, wow, like my politics knowledge actually helped me out a lot?
Oh, thank you for your question. Actually, yes, because it helped me handling the stress. When you interview politicians, you never know what they're gonna say, if they're going to be rude to you, especially when you're a woman. In Italy, it happens very often. So you have to be prepared to everything when you interview politicians. And I think that helped me really a lot doing interviews in the entertainment industry, because as Liam said, the language barrier with the Korean artist is a huge problem, a massive problem. But, I'm used to switch questions, or like do something else while interviewing. So I think that helped me a lot, because in politics, you have to be aware of what surrounds you. For example, if you are in the middle, I don't know, I covered a lot Milan, the city of Milan. So when there was the expo, for example, there were a lot of manifestations, like people yelling and throwing every kind of objects to politics, journalists as well. So that helped me a lot, because being in that kind of situation helps you be in control of everything. So when I interview someone, I'm always aware of what surrounds me. And that was something that I got from politics.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Kenza.
you.
Yeah, great questions. You're coming for our jobs. Well done.
Yeah.
And we're gonna end it with Emma. Oh, sorry, Alena, you can go.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I actually have to go because I have to oversee an interview currently. So thank you guys so much for having me. And thank you for all of your great questions. And Austin, thank you so much. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to email me, reach out to me, whatever. I'm always down to chat. So thank you guys again.
Such a pleasure to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Elena. All right, bye.
She's on her way to work with Ali and AJ right now. I'm so jealous. But Emma, you can close us out.
Awesome. So it sounds like all of you are like living the dream jobs, but was there any point in your like PR entertainment careers that you felt like giving up, and like what kept you going and kind of made you push past that?
For me, it's like the only thing that has been a hurdle in that sense is moving halfway around the world. My family's back home in New Zealand. We're all getting older. And I want to be able to spend as much time with my family as I can. I have two parents and my brother over there. And New Zealand's the most beautiful place in the world. But because they've been so supportive in terms of like sending me out to do my thing, that's what has made it easier. But I would say if there was anything that has made me think, oh, am I making the right decision, it's the fact that I moved halfway around the world from my family. But I love what I do too much for it to stop me. And you know, when you make a decision like that, you make the decision, you know. But yeah, that's what it would be for me.
Hi, Emma. I just want to say, great question. I kind of was like throwing that out there throughout the whole panel discussion. But just to say on a positive note, look at your support system. That's something that I didn't actually all the way do throughout my high school into college, into internship, into big job, into then being an entrepreneur. I finding out your support system and really weeding out people, I think is the key to staying elevated and motivated in this space. So I hope that answers your question.
Marianna, I think your mic is not. No, we can't hear you. Thank you so. I think okay, yeah. Oh, mic failure. Dang. Okay. Thank you so much, Emma, for closing us out. So this is the end. If you ask a question, you can stay a little bit after, so I can spin the wheel and we'll see who wins that prize. But for everyone else, thank you so much for attending. I would assume, I think everyone would love if you connected with them on LinkedIn, just to build that connection further. So feel free to connect with me or any of our panelists if you have any more questions, or you know, just heighten up that networking skill, you know. But thank you to the panelists for attending and everyone who joined live. And if you guys have anything to say before we close out, and then you guys are free to go.
No, thank you.
Well, thank you, Austin, so much for allowing this to happen. And I wish everyone such an amazing end of the school year. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. Like I said, I'm a TEDx speaker, so I'm helping people become TEDx speakers, you know, across different areas of wherever you're from. So I'm willing to help those that willing to help themselves. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been awesome to join you. You know, I think that what we do is the most fun job in the world. I feel so lucky to be able to do it and to meet other people that love it just as much and are just as passionate. And everyone, I think it's, you know, as we were saying earlier, it's like there's no one way to get into this biz. You'll be surprised at some of the most random things that have happened in my journey that have helped out to get me to the place that I am now, and I'm nowhere near finished. So I look forward to seeing all of you on a carpet, whether you become a publicist or standing right next to me as we're doing those interviews. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yay, thank you, Marianna.
And good luck with the Starbucks vouchers.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thanks for the chat. All the best.
How do I stop this recording?